I think we're live. Hello, hello. Bonjour. Bienvenue, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our Explore France series. Hello, bonjour. We're so excited today. As you know, we're bringing you behind the scenes of all things France. So from classic to off the beaten path, we're hosting wine tasting, food demos, can't miss tours of chateaus, museums, and gardens guided by France's most renowned experts. I'm Tiana Gamez at Explore France, welcoming you to our Facebook Live series. Today, I'm inviting you to travel with us to the cobbled streets and lush vineyards of Bordeaux, an unparalleled grape-growing district producing wines that are perfect for Thanksgiving. So our host today, Michael Higgins, PhD, author of Exploring Wine Regions, Bordeaux, will be taking us through the region, from the city center of Bordeaux to the surrounding fields of Médoc and Grave, and more, ripped from the pages of his book. As a special treat, in the Masterclass today, we'll be joined by Luc Planty, proprietor of one of the most beloved wine estates of the region, Chateau Guiraud, a first growth Premier Grand Cru Classé of 1855. Luc will show us a bit of the domain, which boasts excellent wines and a very interesting property, as well as Thanksgiving theme wine pairing to prove how well Sauternes wine goes with poultry. So tune in for that part, but without further ado, let's welcome our host, Michael Higgins. Bonjour, Michael.
Bonjour. Good morning.
Thank you so much. Hello. We're so excited to have you with us today. Thank you for joining our live series.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. It's going to be a great day.
Yes, and thank you for sending me my copy.
Of course, you're welcome. I'm glad you're enjoying.
Yes, so you recently published this series, the Bordeaux edition, Exploring One Region.
That's right.
Can you tell us more about you, the making of this Exploring Wine series, and why you went to Bordeaux?
Wow. Well, Exploring Wine Regions is a book series exploring the wine regions of the world. And as you have in your hand, Bordeaux, the reason for Bordeaux is, in my view, Bordeaux is the center of the universe of wine. I mean, this is where it happens. And when you think of Cabernet Sauvignon, the most planted grape all over the world, it's a Bordeaux varietal. Its birthplace, its home. Let's call it home, is Bordeaux. And it's so loved that it's planted all over the world. So to go to Bordeaux and explore the wine regions and understand Bordeaux was my quest.
Fantastic. So in our conversation today, we are going to explore some part of Bordeaux. And so please, everyone, if you have any questions for Michael while we go through, his process through the book, don't hesitate to typing your comments in your question in the comment section. Also, give us some likes when you like some of the subjects we're talking about, so we know what to discuss more. And yes, so Michael, let's go and dive into the books, and we can't wait to get started.
Okay. I think you need to share a screen with me, and I will put the book up on here.
Fantastic. Let me do that.
Oops.
Are you able?
Well, I am here. Am I on? Is it? Because I see you.
Okay, now you should be able to see the to share your screen. Go ahead. Perfect. Yes.
Okay, and I need to make it full screen. Right there. How's that? Is that good?
So this is it.
Well, hello everybody. I'm excited to be here with everyone. And as you know, I'm Michael Higgins, the author and the photographer of this book, Exploring Wine Regions Bordeaux. And this is a master class, so I need to actually teach you something here today. And when I really thought about what was maybe the most important thing to teach you, I thought terroir. I live in California. I drink a lot of New World wines from California and other countries. And we're so used to bottles of wine being made by the grape variety, like a Cabernet Sauvignon or a Pinot Noir. But that's not how it's done in Bordeaux. It's done by terroir. And terroir is the landscape, it's the topography, it's the soil, it's the weather. And what happens is that each of these chateaus, which are wineries, they produce wine from the grapes on their property. And of course, what's on their property is what grows best on their property. And so that's what makes up a wine for each one of these wineries. And so to really understand Bordeaux and understand what wines you like, and I'm going to try to help you also as a second part of this masterclass, is what wines are your favorite wines and how to find them. Is it's really about understanding the appellations terroir as well as the wineries terroir. And so, and then there's one more thing here, because I want this to be fun and entertaining, because that's what wine is all about. In fact, hey, this is the wine that we're going to end up seeing here in a little bit, that Luc Planty. And I'm going to pour a glass because I couldn't possibly do this without a glass of wine. And by the way, at 7 o'clock in the morning, this is a good time to have a glass of wine, isn't it? Wow. Okay, so the other thing I want to teach you is that Bordeaux is absolutely beautiful. It's stunning. I have the cover of the book up, and I wanted it to be here in order to really make this point clear. Look at this. Castles. There are castles everywhere in Bordeaux. Beautiful vineyards, forests, the architecture. This is an enchanting place that you're going to want to go to. So let's move forward here. I wanted to start here because this is the map of France, and you can see Paris there at the top of France, and Bordeaux is in the southwest part of France along the Atlantic Ocean. And so, by the way, just a couple of years ago, a high-speed train was put in between Paris and Bordeaux. It's only 2 hours. It's amazing. It's actually quicker to go by train than by plane, because you just go from downtown Bordeaux to downtown Paris. Okay, now here is the map of Bordeaux.
So, Michael, when did you go?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this was not just a simple little trip and a glass of wine. I went twice a year for 3 years. And these trips were big. I mean, one time I was there for 2 months. So I have really dived into the deep end and really met the people who are behind making these great wines and having incredible tourism experiences. So for over 3 years. So, you know, the book was just published last month, October of 2020. And so 19, 18, and 17, I was there for those 3 years, 2017, 18, and 19.
Wow. So yes, we can call you a true expert of Bordeaux.
I feel like I walked into this not really knowing Bordeaux and somewhat confused because Bordeaux is complicated. And now I've really sort of uncomplicated it for me, and I've uncomplicated it in the book. There's a huge history section, not huge, but to the point, of the history of Bordeaux. And since we're talking terroir, what happened 100 million years ago is that there were two continents, not the continents of today, that were on a collision course. And as they were pushing against each other over millions of years, what happened is that the earth came up and created the Pyrenees Mountains. And the Pyrenees Mountains today are what separate France from Spain. And when those mountains, the mountain became formed, a valley then pursued below it, and that's where Bordeaux is. And think of a valley with rivers flowing from the mountain into the valley. And one of those rivers, the Garonne River, is the one that if you look on the map, I can show you here on the lower right, that Garonne River goes all the way down to the Pyrenees Mountains. And it's a big river with massive flow of water. And what that did is it brought stones, big stones, little stones, and sand into Bordeaux. And the left bank, right bank concept really occurs from this. This river, everything to the left of that, which is west, is the left bank, and everything to the right is the right bank. So this river brought down those stones and filled up the left bank. And the stones are what Cabernet Sauvignon loves to grow in. And so this whole area is filled with stones, and I will show you pictures of that. And this is why the wines on the left bank are Cabernet Sauvignon primarily, blended with the other grapes from Bordeaux. And the grapes from Bordeaux is Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Petit Verdot, Cabernet Franc, Malbec, and Carmenere. Those are the 6 varietals. And on the right bank, you see this Dordogne River, not coming from the Pyrenees Mountains, but brought clay in. And clay is in this whole area over here with Pomerol, Fransac, and Saint-Emilion. And Merlot loves to grow in clay soil. And they also have limestone here as well. And so if you are a Merlot lover, that softer wine, this is going to be what you love. And if you love the big, bold wines, then the left bank is what you're going to love. So today, I can't tell you everything in one day. So we're going to start in the city of Bordeaux because it's an incredibly amazing city. And then we're going to go up through the Médoc. Then we're going to come back down here through Graves. And then we're going to end up here in Sauternes, which is the south end of Graves. That's what our plan is for today. So let's start in the city. And this one picture, I hope, makes you book your trip because this is what the city looks like. I call it the mini Paris, as you can see here. Paris is an amazing city. We all know that, and it's a really big city, and it has amazing monuments. Well, this is a littler city with amazing monuments. This is a city filled with incredible architecture and monuments. And it's a city of 250,000 people with 1 million in the metro. So you can imagine it's not a little city, and it's got the infrastructure. And you see here this tram, the tram runs throughout the city. So you can walk around. You don't need a car to get around the city. And you can see here, this is the city. It's on the river, and there's lots of landmarks, lots of museums, and lots of restaurants. And I'm going to move through this section maybe a little bit quick here, Tiana, so we can get into the wine regions. But I really think that these are the reasons you want to go. It's beautiful, cobblestone streets, incredible architecture. This place on the left here, that is the Grand Theater with live performances. And look at all this. I'm just moving through quickly. Of course, it's in the book, but this is what the city is about. And I wanted to show you this. Here's a hotel. This hotel is right across from that Grand Theater, and they look very similar because it's the same architect. But look how beautiful that is. Beautiful hotel. So there's places to stay right in the middle of the city. Here's the other reason to go there. Food. There is more restaurants per capita in Bordeaux than there is in Paris. Imagine that. Paris is known for incredible food. And I want you to know Bordeaux is just incredible food and wine experiences. I'll move through this quickly. I hope you get hungry. It may be breakfast time, where it certainly is where I'm at, but look at this. Okay, and then there's another reason to be here. When I go to Bordeaux, I generally spend at least a day when I get there because I just want to experience this amazing city. But I always plan for several days before I depart. And one of the reasons for that is the wine shops. These are not just a little wine shop. I mean, look at this one on the left. It's a circular building. That same picture is right here. And when you're leaving and you've got a couple of extra spots in your wine luggage, here's where you can fill up what you didn't get to buy while you were out in the wine regions. So I highly suggest you bring a wine suitcase with you when you go, because the wines are less expensive when you're in Bordeaux, and you're going to find the wines you love, and you might as well bring them home. And here's where you can get them if not. So I want to move here to, I'm kind of going fast. There's one more thing that you've got to see when you're there. And Tiana, you did a whole hour on this. I need to move my picture. It's called Le Site de Vin. And this is a museum in Bordeaux. And a museum's an interesting word, because this is not just history. This building houses the past, the present, and the future of wine. And not just Bordeaux, wine regions all over the world. It's highly interactive. Everything that goes on in there allows you to participate, actively participate. And this is a place to go to. And if you look there on the left, that's the restaurant up at the top with incredible food again and an unbelievable view. And I've been to Le Site de Vin 3 times, and I feel like I need to go again because it's so interesting and interactive. And I haven't done it all. Okay, so let's move now from the city to the Médoc. And the Médoc is probably the most famous part of Bordeaux. This is where the Grand Crus are. This is where the famous wineries like Chateau Margaux and Chateau Latour. And speaking of Chateau Latour, that's Chateau Latour on the right. So we're in the Médoc right now. In fact, wait, let me go back.
I really love
so you have a reference. We were spending time in the city right here, and now we're moving up through the Médoc. It's all along that left bank where this river and the estuary comes.
Right.
So we're standing in the vineyards looking at Pauillac, and on the right here is Chateau Latour. On the left here is Pichon-Baron, Chateau Pichon-Baron. I will show you a picture of the front of this castle. It's just stunning. So I was talking about stones. And I really wasn't kidding when I meant stones. It's not like there's a few stones here and there. The land is covered with stones. I mean, you can hardly see the dirt. And the magic of this for Cabernet Sauvignon is, think of yourself in a swimming pool and you're getting the sun on you, right? Or even at the beach, the sun is hitting your body. Well, when you have water, like in the pool or the ocean, that sun is then going to reflect off the water back onto you. So you're kind of getting double sun, if you think of it like that. You know, you're going to get a tan faster or a sunburn quicker. Well, this is the same thing here with these stones, because the sun hits the stones and reflects back into the vineyard to the grapes. Cabernet Sauvignon needs a long growing period. It needs the warmth, it needs the sun, and these stones give it the ideal climate. That's why this is the best place for Cabernet Sauvignon. And the other thing that happens with these stones while it's doing this reflection of the sun into the grapes, it's also being warmed up by the sun. So when the sun goes down, these stones are warm, and that heat comes out of the stones into the vineyard and it releases it into the vineyard so that it's really extending the day. It's extending the warmth of the day for the vineyard. This is why it's magical for Cabernet Sauvignon. Okay, let's move past there. Okay, quality. So many people ask, how do I know if I'm getting a quality wine? And in the Médoc, there are two ways to know. One is if it's a Grand Cru Classé, yeah, they're on the right page, or it's a Cru Bourgeois on the left page. So 150 years ago, in 1855, the World's Fair was coming to Paris. And the Emperor Napoleon wanted to show off France, show off the products that France makes. And of course, the best wines in the whole world coming from Bordeaux. He commissioned figuring out which were the best wineries at that time. And 61 chateaus were chosen. And you probably know this in terms of like first growth, second growth, third growth. And those are the hierarchies from 1 to 5. And there are 5 first growths. That's the Chateau Lafite Rothschild, Chateau Latour, which you saw in that picture, Aubryon, Margaux, and also Chateau Mouton Rothschild. These are the first growths. And there are second growths and third growths. And if you are buying a Grand Cru Classé of 1855, you know that you have really come across great wine. And you wonder, how can this still be true 150 years later? And I'm going to tell you, it's terroir. These wineries really are on exceptionally great properties. And so that's where, of course, the grapes are grown and the wines are made from. And that's why these are great wines. Now, imagine this. There's a lot of wineries that have come along since 150 years ago, as well as there were wineries 150 years ago that got left out, and they're producing great wine. And that's why the Cru Bourgeois, there on the left page, was created. And that was in 1932. And this is a very different method of classifying the wines, because they have to qualify blind tastings and certain methodology that they use in the vineyard and the winery to qualify to be considered a Cru Bourgeois. And just because you're a Cru Bourgeois this year does not mean you are next year. So these wineries have to work very, very hard in order to keep this certification. And as you see there in this picture, this goes on every bottle, because it's really not the winery that gets the classification, it's the wine itself. And when they submit their wine and the number of bottles they're going to produce, they get this number of stickers to put on the bottle. So when you see this on the bottle, each bottle, and you can see how it's coded and so forth, you know you have a Cru Bourgeois wine. And probably something else to consider, because of Napoleon, Grand Cru Classés are expensive, but Cru Bourgeois wines are very affordable. I have found myself sitting in a winery tasting wine and thinking, wow, this is amazing. And then they tell me it's only $20, sometimes only $10 or $15. And I'm thinking, that's amazing. So these are the two things to look for. So let's step into Margaux. I can't give you everything here today, but I think if we look at Margaux and Pauillac as appellations, so here's this map. This is Bordeaux. So Margaux is right here, and then we'll eventually come up here to Pauillac. So before I went and did this book, I've always loved Margaux, and I never really knew why. But to me, they were softer, smoother. I'm a Cabernet lover, but Cabernets can get really big like they are here in Pauillac. But our Margaux, they're softer. And so that's one of the things I really wanted to understand. And as we move through here, You know, we all know the famous Chateau Margaux. You know, they've been there for 850 years, perfecting the most amazing wine, pricey, but excellent. But I want to move you to another one here.
So, Michael, before
Yes.
we move to another domain, do you want to take a couple of questions here? I think
Okay.
just going, yes, just going back to some of the ones you've covered. A question here from Patrick, who is wondering, you know, about the prices of this wine from what you've covered so far. What can he purchase, you know, that is affordable and but also very enjoyable?
Well, I think Cru Bourgeois. I think that's the
Okay.
best answer. Each of these appellations in the Médoc, let's go back here to that map. So I know that Pauillac and Margaux is highlighted, but there's the Médoc, and there's Saint Julien and Saint Estèphe and the Médoc. All of them have Cru Bourgeois wines.
Okay.
And if you're not there to go taste them in your home here in the United States, you're looking for Cru Bourgeois wines. You know they've gone through this classification process, and the wines are not expensive.
Okay, great. And staying in that region, so while you know, one wants to explore the region or the Médoc region, that's a question from Michael. What is the best way to explore? And especially if you're only there for a few days, you know, have you worked with a guide or maybe rent a car on your own?
Well, so you do need a car. Absolutely. I mean, you don't need a car when you're in the city of Bordeaux, but once you leave and go into the wine region, you need a car. Either you're driving it or you get a guide to drive it. And I would really choose where you're going based on the kind of wines you like. If you're wanting Cabernet Sauvignon, you want the left bank, you're here in the Médoc. If you want the great, big, gigantic, bold wines, maybe spend your time in Pauillac. If you want them to be a little softer, then come here to Margaux. If you want the clay, then you're going to go to the right bank, Saint-Emilion, and spend time over there.
Right, that's where I'm going.
Yes.
Okay.
So, you know, there's something to be said here about Margaux and that softness, because Margaux has the thinnest topsoil of stones of all of the appellations here in the Médoc. And now the thin stones below that is sand. So the stones are doing what they do to make Cabernet great. The sand is allowing the soil to drain. And then there's clay underneath. And that clay is allowing them to grow Merlot in Margaux of really superior quality and adding a higher percentage into their blends. That's why Margaux is a softer wine in the left bank.
Okay, so I need to try that as well.
Yes. So I'm going to move us along here a little bit quicker so we don't run out of time. And I'm going to take us to this winery here, Chateau Guiraud. Here we go. What's really amazing about this place is that they, if you might be reading the copy here, but it's 70% Cabernet Sauvignon and 20% Merlot. So picture that blend. And maybe I need to step back one step here. Remember in the beginning, I was talking about terroir and that they make their wines as a blend from what's on their vineyards on the property. That is how this works. Think of the winemakers in Bordeaux as chefs. They're using their ingredients. And in this particular case, they're growing 70% Cabernet, 20% of the Merlot, 7% Cabernet Franc, and 3% Petit Verdot. And that becomes their salt and their pepper and their basil. And that's how they're making their wine. And what happens in Bordeaux is everybody has a first label. It's not like you got a Pinot Noir and you got a Cabernet Sauvignon and you got a Merlot. That's not how it works. Everybody has a first label of the best of the best of the best they can make. And then the second label is the leftover wine, because you may grow 20% Merlot, but you may only use 18% because that's just what makes it perfect that year. And so the leftover wine goes into the second label. And I think somebody was asking about price. Well, that second label is a fraction of the cost of the first label. And that's how you can really save some money if you don't want to buy the first label. Same winery, same winemaker, same property. One of the other things about this, you know, Bordeaux is a very wet, moist place. And I always thought it would be very difficult to be organic or biodynamic in an environment like that. And it's really not true. Lots of wineries are doing this. And this is one of them. This place has, here's the inside, by the way. They have 52 hectares, and 2 hectares a year get replanted, organic and biodynamic from the beginning. And they've been doing this for 14 years, I think 2004. So maybe that's 16 years. So they have half their vineyards now are organic and biodynamic. And by the way, all of these wineries that I have in my book are open to the public. You know, 10, 20 years ago, most of them were never open to the public, but now they're starting to open to the public. And the places that I talk about in my book are not just places for a tasting. They must go beyond that. They must have tourism experiences. You can see here about a whole wine and cheese visit and these guided tours through the property and learning about this whole biodynamic aspect of what they're doing. And look at this. You can stay on the property. They have 6 rooms above the winery. What do you think about swimming in that swimming pool, Tiana? You would be the queen.
This is a wonderful property.
Yes. So, you know, to be able to actually stay on the property in the vineyards and wake up and open the window and look outside on the second floor overlooking the vineyards is just spectacular. Take a nice little swim and go in here for a hot breakfast.
Yeah, that sounds it's out of a dream.
Yes. So let's move to Graves. I think we need to move on to Graves. By the way, Graves is the French word for gravel, gravelly land. And here again, it really is gravelly. And here, look at this. This is Chateau Smith au Lafitte. They are a Grand Cru Classé in Graves. Beautiful, big, spectacular property. But here again, I want to show you the stones. You can't even see the soil. There's that many stones. And in the very beginning of time here, where Bordeaux was becoming a commercially viable wine region, Graves is where it was, because the Médoc was swampland. And the only wineries there were the ones on top of the hills, because once you got off the hill, you were in the swamps. And it was the Dutch that came along in the 17th century and drained the swamp so that they could create vineyards throughout it like it is today. But this is where it all really began, is in Graves. And this is where the boats would come into Bordeaux and pick up the wine and take it to London, etc. And so a lot of people forget about Graves. And you know, one of the first growths, the only first growth that is not in the Médoc is here. The Chateau Guiraud is in Graves. And so you can't discount this. A lot of these wineries are getting 100-point scores on their wines. So I really want to emphasize, this is a great wine region that's kind of forgotten. And you can get some amazing wines here at great prices. Okay, so let's move forward here. This is Bordeaux City again. And then this is all of Graves. I'm going to take you to a winery here in Pessac-Léognan. And this is a special sub appellation that has created their own Grand Cru Classé classification, so that you know you've got the top wineries within this area. And that first picture I showed you is Chateau Smith-Lafitte. They're one of those Grand Cru Classés. And the one I'm going to show you next, which is Chateau Pape-Clément, that is also a Grand Cru Classé. But then we're going to work our way down here to Sauternes, and that's where we're going to meet up with Luc. So let's get to the next page here, and I'm going to show you. This is Chateau Pape-Clément, and this is one of the very first wineries here in Bordeaux. It dates back, their first harvest was in 1252. That's a long time ago. And still today, those vineyards are plowed with horses. And it's really interesting to see horses plowing the vineyards. And then when you look up in the sky and you see drones flying overhead, because this is really the mix of the old and the tradition with the modern and the technology, because those drones are flying overhead to analyze the vineyards, and they're analyzing the vineyards in terms of their health so that bad vines can be replaced. They're also looking at harvest times where they can really microscopically determine when and where to harvest. This is really bringing the best of both worlds together. And this is a chateau that's owned by Bernard Maigret. And Bernard is really one of the most innovative guys in Bordeaux. And he's not just innovative for the winemaking, but he's also innovative for tourism. This is the Pape-Clément castle, and Pape means Pope. So this was the home of Pope Clement, and the Pope lived here and made wine. And today you can stay in the Pope's home. Look there on the right. That's one of the bedrooms. And this is not just an overnight stay. This is a total experience. You need to make sure that they give you the grand dinner, which is in this dining room. That is a huge baccarat chandelier above the dining room table. And it's an incredible feast paired with their wines. Extraordinary wines, I must say. And one of the things in this Graves region is white wine. Bordeaux is a red wine region. It's Cabernet Sauvignon and it's Merlot with the other blends in there. But the white wines are particularly good in the Graves region, and they're so good that in this particular case with Pape-Clément, let me see, I think I might have a bottle on the previous page. Yeah, there it is. You see down here? This is a Sauvignon Blanc blended with Semillon, Muscadel, and Sauvignon Gris. It is so incredibly good that it's their most expensive wine. It's more expensive than this first label red wine. So you can stay there. But here's the thing about it, the experiences. Bernard has created incredible experiences. That helicopter, he will take you around to see his properties. He's the only person that owns 4 Grand Cru Classés in Bordeaux, and they're in 4 different appellations. And you can visit them by helicopter. And if you don't want to go in the sky, he'll take you around by a Bentley. But if you look here about all these workshops, learning, the keys of how to do wine tasting properly, what goes on with a winemaker every month of the year, food and wine pairings. You can even make your own wine and they will help you do it. This is an incredible experience. And I think that's what's important about going there. You're not just going there to taste wine, you're going there to have experiences. Let's go to Sauternes.
Yes.
In fact, here we go. This is how we start going to Sauternes. So back to the map. Here's the city. We were in Pessac, which is where the Chateau Pessac-Léognan is, and Léognan was where the Chateau Smith-Lafitte was that we saw. Now we're in Sauternes. And I want to give you a quick understanding of Sauternes because this is a special microclimate that's like nowhere else in the entire world. Look at this. It's kind of like a triangle. You see this triangle? So there's a river here, you know, the big Garonne River. There's also a small river that comes along here. And on this side, it's all forest. So what happens is the Garonne River is a warm water river that flows. And then this river here is a cold river. And when the cold water hits the warm water, it turns into moisture, into mist and fog. And it starts to fill in this area where Sauternes is. And then the forest holds it there. So it's a magical environment. It's incredibly humid. And what humidity causes is mold. Think of your bathroom, you know, and the shower and the moisture and how you have to, you know, stay on top of any kind of mold growing. And that's what happens here. And mold grows on the grapes. And I'm sure many of you have heard the concept of noble rot. This is where noble rot comes from. It's a particular type of mold called botrytis. And botrytis grows on these grapes more than 90 days a year. And this is in that summer and fall time when the grapes are maturing and ready for harvest. The mold grows. And what happens is the mold attacks the grape. It actually punctures holes into the grape and attacks the inside of the grape. And the grape, imagine this, has an immune system that fights back. And so the grape is fighting back against this botrytis that's attacking it. And this little battle going on inside the grape is a chemical reaction that is producing the Sauternes wines. A lot of times people think that Sauternes wines are a late harvest, and that's why it's sweet. And that's not it at all. It's because of this botrytis attacking and the grape fighting back. Now, in the afternoon, when the sun burns off all this fog, that sun is now warming up the grapes, but the holes that the botrytis punched into the grapes is still there. And what that's doing is it's allowing the moisture to escape through the holes and concentrating the juices inside the grapes. That's what makes this incredible wine. And you can see here, if I show you this bottle, this is a Chateau Guiraud. It's a golden color, and it's sweet, and it's delicious, and it's thick. And I'm going to take another taste. And it smells amazing. It's really, what an incredible wine. So,
yeah, I can't wait to try mine.
What's that?
Can't wait to try this wine.
Oh, it's so good. And you know, tomorrow is Thanksgiving. And this is really the perfect wine to pair with birds. I think people think of a sweet wine as a dessert wine. And in my mind, why would I want to eat something sweet and then drink something sweet? I really think of Sauternes as a wine that goes with poultry, with birds, with turkey, certain kinds of cheeses. It's incredible with oysters, like amazing with oysters. And by the way, to the west at the ocean, there's a huge bay and it's filled with oysters. This is an oyster region. And
yes, that
oysters goes with the Sauternes. But let's move into what's probably known, most famous around the world is Chateau Guiraud. Remember in the Médoc, we were talking about the Grand Cru Classés of 1855? Well, this was for just the Médoc and for Sauternes. And so in Sauternes, you have that same thing, the first growths and the second growths. And this particular winery, as you look here, it's a superior first growth, which means it's one level above the first growths, which means that at the time, this was considered better than Chateau Mouton Rothschild and Chateau Margaux and Lafite and Latour. This is Chateau Guiraud. It's owned by the Louis Vuitton companies, And as you can see, it's a beautiful place. You can see the golden wine. Here's a picture of the landscape. Oh, here's the oysters. Makes me want oysters right now. Okay, Chateau Guiraud. And I hope that, have you let Luc know we're almost ready for him?
Yes, he knows.
Okay. So, on top of the plateau in the Sauternes region, Chateau Guiraud is on top of the plateau, and so is Chateau Guiraud. They share that plateau. And while Guiraud is very famous and the wines are expensive, Chateau Guiraud has this same, it's the same terroir. Think about it. They got the same climate, they got the same soil, they're on top of the plateau. But there's one thing about Chateau Guiraud, besides an incredibly great price for their wines, is that they're now up against that forest. Because remember, it eventually hits the forest. And because of the forest, they have their own property where it's isolated from everybody else. And they have created their own ecosystem there. This is a true amazing property in that sense, because if you see there on the left, that's a hotel. Now that's not a hotel for you and I. That's a hotel for bugs. They have set up these hotels all over the property, and bugs book a room. In fact, some of them stay for a very long time, and they're doing this in order to create an ecosystem there. There was an entomologist that was there about 10 years ago and actually counted 635 species of insects and spiders, 7 species of bumblebees. It's really amazing. They really set up this property. They put in nesting boxes for birds. They build hives to attract the pollinating insects. And so this is really an ecosystem all in itself that survives, you know, without the chemicals. And imagine that in a highly, highly humid environment that makes, you know, Sauternes possible. And the wines there are amazing. Now, we all know that France got shut down for the month of November. And, you know, we can't go there, and even the people in France really can't move around right now. But normally, they have a restaurant. You see that picture on the left? You can sit outside. You can overlook the vineyards. It's just a beautiful landscape, and you can see there the gourmet foods. So when you visit Bordeaux, this is a place to visit. And it's not just for the wine, it's to really learn about the whole ecosystem they have there and to sit out and have an incredible meal. And it's not just their wines that are there. They have wines there from all over Bordeaux of all different types. And so what Luc Planty, who is the winemaker and owner of the Chateau Guiraud, has done is he's created a Thanksgiving feast for us. And I hope you can bring him on now.
Yes, let's have Luc on.
Luc?
Let's see. Luc should be on in any second.
So when I have been visiting, I'll keep talking while we're waiting for Luc. When I've been visiting in Sauternes, and by the way, Sauternes and Barsac is also calls their wine Sauternes. They can either isolate it as Barsac or they can isolate it as Sauternes. It's their choice, but Sauternes has the name. Every time I've had a meal with one of the winemakers there, it's always a Sauternes with bird. There's always, it's a duck. You know, it's a chicken, it's some type of poultry that is paired with a Sauternes. And I have really learned that this is the magic pairing combination with Sauternes wines. And so when I was told that we were going to do this masterclass on the day before Thanksgiving, I thought we have to go to Sauternes. We need to have somebody live in Sauternes to show us their wines. And that's why we are now at Chateau Guiraud. And we have a recipe. How do we get the recipe to everybody? So Chateau Guiraud has cooked a fabulous Thanksgiving feast that you're going to see here shortly. And we have the French recipe to this American holiday Thanksgiving turkey feast that we need to share with everybody. How do we do that, Tiana?
So the recipe?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna post it right after this on our Facebook page, so everybody can see it. And that's what we'll do. We'll post the link of the recipe. So Luc should be joining us shortly, but in the meantime, I think Luc is here.
Yes. Okay.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Oh, I am the upside
You're
down.
on your side.
Yeah, sorry. I have to change the... Okay. Up.
No problem. Take your time.
Yeah.
While you're fixing that, I want to ask you a question because, you know, you and your family run this chateau, and I wondered, how long has your family been at Chateau Guiraud?
Since 2006.
Since 2006.
My dad managed the chateau since 82.
Since 1982?
Yeah, 1982. But we are one of the owners of the chateau since 2006.
Okay. Oh, but your dad has been there since 86.
Yes. My dad.
It was about time he became an owner.
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we can see you perfectly, Luc. So
okay, good.
Good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
If you want to see everywhere around to see the panorama.
So I want
to of Chateau Guiraud. Here we are just in the middle of the property.
So
it's
that's 100, the chateau
110
hectares.
Yes.
And stop there for a minute, Luc. There on the right, so that's the chateau, and on the right is the restaurant.
Yes.
That was the restaurant picture I was showing you guys, looking back out over the property. It's a beautiful setting and a beautiful building, indoor and outdoor dining.
And look at this light.
The light is beautiful there. So it is almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon in Bordeaux.
Yes, exactly. The end of
Show
the day.
us a hotel.
This is
a hotel near you?
Yeah, there is an hotel near me, just here, for the bugs. Five star.
A 5-star hotel. You really take care of those bugs, don't you? Uh-oh. An internet connection? Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh, this is
yeah, it's okay. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I come back.
He's there, but it's not sharing his screen.
Oh, yes. You don't see
there
it?
We go. Yeah, go up close there to that 5-star hotel.
This is for insects. You see, you have several different ecosystem to show which bugs in which ecosystem you can have in the vineyard.
How close are you to the little pond?
Sorry?
How close are you to the pond, the little lake?
The lake. Oh, it's a 2-minute walk.
That's 2 minutes, okay. Because I understand that lake is also part of this ecosystem.
Yes,
I mean, that's not a lake for irrigating the vines because you don't irrigate the vines.
No.
That is so that it's part of the ecosystem, isn't it?
Yes, it's a lake for the ecosystem. It's also because we retreat all our water from the cellar and from the chateau. So it's a aeration station. I don't know if it's a good name for in English.
What did you call it?
In the station d'épuration. It's
I don't know how to translate that.
It's for clean the water from the chateau and from the cellar.
Ah, okay, I got that.
It's a 100% vegetal, and we clean the water with the vegetal.
Yeah.
With some this ecosystem. So this
Well,
is the
that's beautiful.
restaurant and the Protestant chapel just here.
So you mentioned this chapel was one of the first one in the region, Luc?
Yes, it's one of the first chapel built in Gironde in 1786, when the king decided to open the religion to all the religion is allowed in France.
Okay. That's such a beautiful building.
Yeah.
Yes.
And now it's a big restaurant with a very nice room inside.
Fantastic. So then when you walk to the left, so this is the main building that's...
Yes. This is the main building. We have some room for visit and for tour for all people who come here. And just on the left, you have the tasting room where we have the dinner for tonight.
Yes.
We're glad you're celebrating Thanksgiving with us, Luc.
Yes, but I say to you, you have to come here to celebrate with us.
I want to be there. You need to talk to your president and tell him that he needs to let us in.
To open the border, yeah.
Exactly.
I know. He's not very fun today.
I can't wait to be back.
Yeah. And
Beautiful.
here you have
Look at those skies. That's the winery there on the left, right?
Yes, this is the winery where we have the cellar for the barrels, because we only make wine in barrels in Chateau Guiraud for 2 years, during 2 years.
You do 2 years aging in the barrels?
Yes.
And
exactly.
Do you ferment in the barrels?
Sorry? Oh, yeah, yes, I run the barrels because it's easier for us.
No. Do you ferment? The fermentation. I think we might have lost him.
I think it's breaking up a little bit, probably connection.
It's the internet. I cannot remember if they ferment in the barrels or not. They might. But I do know they keep them in the barrels for a long time, so for 2 years in the barrels.
Right. You're back.
It's okay, I come back.
I was asking you, Luc, as to whether or not you ferment the grapes in the barrels before aging, or do you do that in tanks?
No, we just do it in barrels just before. We do it in barrels directly.
Okay,
no tanks.
So it really lives its whole life in the barrels.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
So you mentioned you're producing three wines at Chateau Guiraud.
Yes, we produce a dry white, Bordeaux Blanc Sec, the Gite from Chateau Guiraud, and we produce 2 Sauternes, the Petit Guiraud, and the Chateau Guiraud First Grow, classified in 1855. And so all of 3 wines are organic, of course.
So remember when I was talking earlier about how wineries make the very best that they can? It's their first label. That's the Chateau Guiraud. That is that label. I'll put it right up here, the Chateau Guiraud. And then
2016.
The grapes that are left over, then they make their Petit Guiraud. And then there's also a white wine. And by the way, it's a very clever name. G.
Yeah, G. Very easy to remember.
G. So when you see a G, that's what it is. And is that a Semillon?
It's a 50-50, Semillon and Sauvignon Blanc.
Okay.
And we have a little part of malolactic fermentation on the dry whites.
Ah, okay.
To improve the balance of acidity and aroma.
Look at this feast.
And everything on this table is good with Sauternes.
Look at this. So tell us what we're looking at. There's the turkey, right?
This is the turkey with some vegetable, with some chestnut, cranberry, and something red and everything around. This is some courge.
Squash, yes.
The squash, yeah.
Walnuts, maybe.
Yeah, walnut, exactly. This is from a creme brulee with pumpkins.
Creme brulee, pumpkin creme brulee. Wow, that's
Yeah,
really
pumpkin
what a great
spaghetti.
idea. And
Yeah,
then the cheese, the brie.
this is the brie, the Neuchâtel, and some Saint-Maur, goat cheese.
Goat cheese. Oh yes, the goat cheese. God, that looks
Some
really good.
some meringue, and some, of course, some blue cheese with Sauternes and some Comté.
So the blue cheese pairs really well with the Sauterne.
Yes, with the Sauternes, the blue cheese and Roquefort and goat cheese. Yeah, and here you have some bouchée à la reine. The pastry with inside you have some cream, poultry, mushroom.
Oh, that looks so good.
This is wonderful.
Now, do you mind shipping that to California really quickly?
Yeah, but very quickly it will be very hard.
Yes.
And the table with some soap and caviar and foie gras.
It's beautiful, and the fire in the fireplace. And that looks like a magnum of your wine. Yes,
it's a double magnum.
A double magnum.
Yes, it's for 4 people. It's good. It's a good size.
It's a good size. Yes. Wow, this is really nice. So, you know, every time that I have been in Sauternes or Barsac, and yes, I've had a meal at one of the wineries at the chateaus, there's always been poultry. It's been chicken. It's been duck. It's always been a bird of some sort paired with the wine. And so I've really tried to figure out why Sauternes pairs so well with poultry. I know it from experience, but I wonder if you know why is it so good?
It's because the creaminess of the poultry has a good balance with the sugar and the acidity of the wine.
That's why.
So you have a good balance with the meat and the wine, and so you increase the aroma in the mouth to taste. So you taste more aroma with this pairing.
Okay. Wow, this looks good. So
yes.
You have a glass. You have a glass. Can you see? Can you see my picture here? You see this?
Yeah, 2016.
Okay, and
I can take a glass.
A little more because I've been enjoying this too much. Well, we definitely need a toast to Thanksgiving. I'm glad you're having Thanksgiving with us.
Oh, I'm glad too. But it's today for you, Thanksgiving? Yeah.
Tomorrow.
It's tomorrow, so.
It's tomorrow. So, you know, if you're having Thanksgiving with us, then I'm going to have to come there for one of your holidays.
Okay.
Yes.
The doors are open, you know, so you can come when you want.
Well, thank you. You're always so hospitable, and your staff is so hospitable. It's really a beautiful place to spend time.
Yeah, it's very quiet, a quiet place, and you enjoy yes, it's very calm, and you can enjoy everything. It's a slow time place. I don't know if you understand what I mean, but it's a very.
When you come here, you have patio, having a nice lunch.
Exactly.
Enjoying the afternoon. It is. Oh, there you are. Okay.
Yes.
Well, cheers, Luc. How do we
cheers, Michael.
Like that?
I hope you enjoy your Thanksgiving tomorrow night, but I think I will enjoy mine tonight.
You're going to do it tonight.
Oh, yeah.
you might as well get a head start.
I have some food to eat for tonight.
Oh, this is really good.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. So for everyone who hasn't finished preparing their Thanksgiving menu, I think, you know, we can thank Luc for all this inspiration and the recipe that we're going to share right away. I have my Chateau Guiraud that's on its way.
Yeah, good. So you will be ready for Thanksgiving. So you have the recipe, you have the Chateau Guiraud, so it will be a good Thanksgiving.
Yes, I'm all set. So I think we have maybe a couple of questions for you, Michael and Luc. before we wrap up the live. And again, thank you so much for your both of your time today. This I can't I cannot even believe how much time you spent with us. This has been wonderful, learning about Bordeaux, visiting your beautiful winery, Luc. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. One question is about recommendations. So for wine pairing for tomorrow, what for the appetizers, what do you recommend with in terms of Bordeaux wine for the appetizer? And maybe, so we've seen Chateau Guiraud works with everything, of course, but is there any other maybe in terms of the reds that could work with the Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow?
Yeah, so you can drink Chateau Guiraud with a lot of things, of course. And for appetizer, you can take some oyster.
This is the season for oysters right now.
Yeah. Ah, so good.
This is a good time.
It's a good time. Oyster. But of course, you have foie gras. It's a very classic. You have this is a classic foie gras you can eat. But oyster, the smoked salmon, all the seafood are very good with Sauternes, because you have the salinity of the seafood balanced very well with the sugar of the wine. But you have to take for the appetizer a young Sauternes with a good balance, acidity, sugar, and alcohol. But all Sauternes is better for the meal or for the cheese. But don't drink Sauternes with the dessert, because it's sugar on sugar and it's not very good.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. We have one of the viewers is holding a Petit Guiraud bottle 2004 right now as we speak. Isn't it? Wow. Isn't it fantastic? Great. Yes. And some of them have visited your properties in the past years. So
good.
Yes, come back on the page later, and you'll see this is really wonderful to see where people have been in Bordeaux. This is it's so fantastic. So and then for the pumpkin pie, what do you recommend, Michael?
Well,
what pairing?
I would get away from the sweet. Like I said earlier, is that I don't consider a Sauternes a dessert wine because it's too much sweet with sweet. So I would move with something dry, and you could stick with a white wine like a Sauvignon Blanc.
Okay.
Sauvignon Blanc would be really good because it's nice and crisp and dry. If you want to go red, maybe go with a Pinot Noir or a Burgundy.
All right. And sounds good. And what is the best vintages to drink right now?
Wow, are you at West? Is the question a Bordeaux question or is it a Sauternes question?
Let's maybe ask Luc. For the Sauternes.
For Sauternes, at this moment or this year, I drink a lot of 2015. Okay. Because I'm a big fan of young Sauternes. But if not, I enjoy a lot 2002.
Very good. I am taking notes. And how about you, Michael? What is your Bordeaux vintage that you're drinking right now?
Well, I actually really know the answer to this because I spent time wanting to know the best vintages. Bordeaux's weather changes dramatically every year. So the vintages are definitely different. So the best vintages, from my standpoint, are the 2000s, the 2005s, the 2009s, the 2010s, the 2015s, the 2016s. And these last few years, Bordeaux has had really good conditions. So I really expect the 18s and the 19s to be really good as well. But when it comes to these red wines, you need to wait 10 years before you open them up. So like right now, a 2009 and a 2010 would be extraordinary. And if you really want to splurge, you'd go with a 2005 or a 2000. That's my take on it.
Sounds good. So, so when you went to Bordeaux, you've packed, your wine suitcase. So how many bottles do you bring, and how do you actually, bring them back to France?
Well, you know something, I actually have a plan.
Oh yeah.
So when I go to Bordeaux, I only do a carry-on suitcase. And I know that sounds really funny, but even when because one of the times I was there, I went for 2 months and I did it with just a carry-on. And the reason why I do a carry-on is because I want my checked luggage coming home to be filled with wine. So, so 12 bottles of wine is 42 or 43 pounds. And then you add the suitcase or the box on top of that, you're under the 50-pound limit. So if you get 2 free carry-ons, that means you can bring 2 cases of wine back per person. And that's what you really should do. You really should be, and you should do it for 2 reasons. One is that when you find the wines you like, you should buy them. You really should. Don't wait. Buy them when you're at the winery, get them and bring them home. The other thing is you're going to spend less money buying them there in France than after, they get sold to the United States and shipped across the ocean and et cetera, et cetera. Bring them home. So I always bring 2 checked bags filled with 24 bottles. And you know something? On my website, exploringwineregions.com, we actually have a wine suitcase there. You can get a wine suitcase. Go check it out. It's what I take with me. It folds down because it's soft, and then it folds back out again.
That is what I need.
Yeah.
So that is what I need for my next trip. Yeah.
It's a good plan.
I was noticing that some of the people who are listening right now are people who have the book, but I imagine there's a lot of people who don't have the book. And those of you who do have the book probably have now figured out this is the perfect holiday gift. And so as we all, I don't know if this is true in France, but in the United States, the Friday after Thanksgiving is called Black Friday. And it's the day of sales. Do you have that in France?
Yeah, we have it in France, but this year, because of coronavirus, they decide to put it next week and not this week.
So for Black Friday, I'm going to do Gold Friday. You see the wine here, the Chateau Guiraud? It's a Gold Friday and 25% off on the books. So a huge discount on our website, exploringwineregions.com. And you just it's going to come out on Friday, but if you want to use it now, you can get the books. Friends25. That's the discount code. Friends25.
25.
And you can get 25% off. And then one more idea, if you get a carton, which is 10 books, it's 50% off.
That's a great gift.
50% off. You now have 10
good deal
ready to go. And we all have lots of friends who love to travel and drink wine.
It is a really beautiful book, and I'm so glad you gifted me that book. I think I have one more question. One of our viewers is
Look at
planning.
That sunset. Did you see the sunset? That is so beautiful.
It is.
It is like this every day, It's very hard.
Michael, what are we doing here?
Wine, watching the sunset. How good is that?
Yes. So, can can't wait to be back to France. Yes. So
you ordered the perfect sky for today, Luc.
Yes. Thank you.
It's perfect weather.
That's amazing.
Yes. So I think we are going to wrap it. Thank you again so much, Michael, Luc, for your time today.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
So it was a pleasure. Yeah.
Happy to share. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for joining us, Luc. This was really special for Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. It was very nice.
And we will meet you again, Michael, for a second part where we talk about, the rice bank this time. I mean, there's so much to cover. Yes, but I'm looking forward to learn more about that part of Bordeaux as well.
And maybe you and I will go to Bordeaux and actually do it
from Bordeaux. It will be better for you.
I think we should.
Yes, I think we should do it straight from Bordeaux next.
Yeah. You have a better passport than I do, though.
True. Okay.
But it'll be open soon, so I think people can get the book and start planning what they want to do next year when France opens up and we get to go.
Right.
It will be open, I think, in March. Yeah.
You think March?
Yeah, I think it's March. Yeah, because the confinement finish of the 15th of December, and the restaurant and pub opens the 20th of January. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
So they can open the border just after.
Yes. Fingers crossed we'll be all in France in 2021, enjoying spring, summer, every time of the year in France, in the vineyards. And we all meet at Luc's property for a glass of Sauternes.
When it's open, you can come every day.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great Thanksgiving. Bye. Au revoir, Luc. Thank you all
for
tuning in.
Bye.
And